Hello, everyone. Eddie here, and this is becoming the norm. I start off getting ready to make one video talking about one subject matter, and then the news of the day or the news of the hour hits me, and then I have to create a video about that. So, what I want to talk about is just fresh off the press, like within the last hour, news hit that New York Attorney General Letitia James has been indicted. And we can go ahead and read this together. So, says that Letitia James criminally charged in Trump's latest efforts to punish rivals. The prosecutor who sought charges was installed amid Trump's frustration with pace of investigations against rivals. So, a federal grand jury indicted Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, for bank fraud on Tuesday, according to a person familiar with the matter. Lindsay Halligan, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, personally presented the case to the grand jury on Thursday. The person said U.S. attorneys do not typically present to grand juries. Halligan was installed in the role last month after Donald Trump became frustrated with the pace of the investigation against his rivals. The move is the president's latest effort to weaponize the Department of Justice to punish political rivals. It comes 2 weeks after Halligan secured charges against James Comey, the former FBI director. Career prosecutors prepared a memo in the case outlining why charges were not warranted. Comey pled not guilty on Wednesday, and the article ends with more details to come soon. So, most people should know Letitia James is the one who actually indicted and won indictments against Trump. Uh, she actually was the one that helped bust up his business in New York because of fraud. So obviously, he has a grudge against her, and the fact that they indicted her really just kind of caught me off of left field. I mean, when he said Comey, everyone kind of was like, yeah, 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 but he's just talking. But now he literally is going down a list and sicking his Justice Department on people. And the only thing I just want to talk about in this video is that this is reason for all of us to be alarmed. I mean, we all should be worried about this. This isn't your normal tit for tat. You go after me, I go after you. This is really legitimately the Department of Justice being weaponized. And I think we all should think about that because what's going to be next? Make a YouTube video the president doesn't like, and they're going to start investigating your bank records. They're going to pull up your social security numbers thanks to Doge. They're going to pull up your social security numbers, your IRS tax refunds, and say, well, 15 years ago you filed your taxes late. Therefore, we might need to investigate you. Or they're going to check your housing. I think we all need to be very careful and cognizant of the fact that an attack on one person like this could very well conceivably be an attack on all of us. If you weaken the rule of law, if you make it not about, a standard, about best practices, about what's fair, about evidence, about facts, and instead you go on the whims of a person who is clearly declining, you're setting up a very dangerous precedent. And I quite frankly just don't know how to come across to people and explain that this is really serious, that, you know, a lot of us depend on the Justice Department. We truly do believe justice is blind, that if you get your day in court and the facts are presented, that, you know, the ruling will go out, that, people won't go after you just because. But apparently that's not the case now. We're living in a different new era. And I can only assume that after Trump continues to plow through and go after big name people who can afford to defend themselves, that it's only a matter of time before he sets his sight on the little man, that little small businessman that gets stiffed because, like, the Trump corporation doesn't pay their bills. And all of a sudden they're mounted with legal bills because he turns around and sues them. I just think Trump is very masterful. So I'm gonna give him a compliment, but it's not really a compliment. It kind of is, but it's not. But he's really good at using the judicial system, working within the bounds to get what he wants. Because he did that all during the election cycle by delaying and delaying and delaying until finally, when it was purely campaign mode, no one wanted to touch him for fear of messing up the election, which is what he wanted. I mean, which is literally what he wanted. So my advice or my thinking is that we all need to start paying attention, because obviously Congress isn't going to do anything. And when I say Congress, let me be really specific. When I say Congress, yes, I mean both Republicans and Democrats, because they make up the bulk of Congress. However, let me be crystal clear for those people who can't be bothered to actually learn about how our system of government works. The Republicans are in control. The Democrats are the minority party. Minority. What does minority mean? It means they don't have the power to call subpoenas. They don't have any of the power to support or to enforce what they deem should be right. They are in the minority, meaning the majority, which is the Republicans, have all the power. They can call people up to Capitol Hill. They can subpoena records. So right now, the majority Republicans are sitting idly by and doing nothing as our country is getting hollowed out thanks to this new president. So I just want to be crystal clear for those people who just can't be bothered and don't understand how our form of government works. So what about the corporations? Let me be clear about the corporations. I think the only thing we can prove to them is that they only care if it impacts their bottom line. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They only care if we purchase their product. As long as we're purchasing their product, they're happy. If we withhold funds and enough of us do it, then possibly they're likely to change. But will they just go and buck against Trump? No. Because, all these companies that have these big mergers and acquisitions ahead, they don't want to buck him. So if you think the corporations have your best interest in mind, they're going to make the jobs that's going to help you. That's why they deserve these tax breaks. Again, take a minute, go to the library or go to Wikipedia, pull up and kind of read how the government works just to do a refresher, because, our biggest asset is our government. And how do we play into that? It's who we vote in. Why on God's green earth are people still voting the Republicans in as they sit idly by and do nothing? Why? Why do they keep going, setting them to Washington? Just why? What am I missing? They seem to systematically screw over their constituents, and yet they come back and say, well, look at what I did, and they get voted back in again. I truly don't understand, and I hope to God people wake up and hold all the politicians accountable. And you know what? For those who want to do both sides, yeah, I'll do both sides. Sure. Same thing goes for Democrats. If they don't follow through and they don't do what their constituents want them to do, then they should get voted out of office. Plain and simple. Happy? Because it in this case, I think too many of us are caught in our tribes and decide that, hey, I'm gonna vote Republican because they're in it for the little folks. You know, let's just put to the side that they gave tax breaks to wealthy billionaires because they're really going for the little folks. Let's just put to the side that they're cutting the health care, which is going to impact all of us. But they really are going for the working class because they're Republicans, and I'm tired of these left-leaning liberals. We're gonna own the liberals. Please, the Republican Party has proven that they are just a figurehead. They have been outright taken and owned by Donald Trump. That maybe that's his superpower. He can really put a stranglehold on them. Very few of them are going to buck against him. Thank you for letting me vent because I had a lot to say, and I will be making more videos, but everyone, we have to stay engaged because when the 2026 elections come around and the 2028 elections come around, we got to get these clowns, and by clowns I mean Republicans, out of office. We really do. We need we need a stable government. And right now, one party, even though they may be flawed, even though they may not give you everything you want, one party is really legit trying to make things better for the American people, whereas another party is just bowing down to their king. And last I checked, America doesn't have a king. America doesn't need a king. At any rate, just my opinion. I would love to hear yours in the comments section. And if you keep watching these videos, I'll keep creating them. Thank you and be blessed.